Hi, I'm Dr. Emil Tassi. So I have a question for you. Is your baby or child suffering? Are they dealing with any symptoms like colic, constipation, croup, reflux, asthma? Do they get sick a lot? Do they have ear infections? Right? Are they having problems sleeping? Listen, if you're dealing with this, or if your child is dealing with this, or your brand new baby is dealing with this, a good question to ask is why? Why would a brand new baby or a young kid be having issues? That's a great question. And another great question to ask is this: was my child or my baby not born with enough medication? Because if something is happening, you need to start to ask yourself, why is that happening? Maybe the kid's having eczema. We have a lot of kids come in here with eczema, and they'll go to the doctor, and the doctor will give them medication. It doesn't go away. They'll go to another doctor. They'll give them cream, medicated cream. And I always tell the parents, I say, you got to ask yourself this. Was your child, or is my child not born with enough medication? Why could there be a problem? Why is the child expressing symptoms? All right, that's a really valid question. I want you to consider one possibility that could be contributing. And I like the word contribute, okay? Because when we look at things from a holistic perspective, there are different pieces of the puzzle. Okay, so one thing that you might not have considered, which I've been taking care of babies and kids since 2001, so it's been over 16 years caring for tons of babies, tons of kids, for many years, a lot of experience with this. But one thing I always like to point out to parents is this, okay? If you take a look at this picture right here, when you were created, just to give you a nice basic rundown about how the body's set up to work, okay? The first thing I want you to consider is this. If you're watching this right now and you're listening, that's amazing, because actually you're taking action, which is great. What I want to do is get you to the next level of learning, which is understanding. Okay, now to understand things, sometimes you're going to have to stop this video, play it again. I want you to take some notes down. Just start to form these ideas in your head. But one thing you can do just real quick, I love this analogy, is just to do two small dots on a piece of paper. So if you were just to do dot dot on a piece of paper, okay, I want you to realize something. In 10 months, 2 cells smaller than those dots that you wrote on that piece of paper came together, and in 10 months, your baby was born. Your child was born. This was created right here. Ask yourself, that's pretty intelligent, right? Was that intelligent or what, right? That's a miracle. That's amazing. Well, when your baby was born, where did that intelligence that created your baby and your child, where did it go? When you were born, where did that intelligence go? Did it leave your body? No. That intelligence is within you. It's within your baby. It's within your child. And specifically where it's coming from is your brain. All right, this is really, really key. I need you to realize that the intelligence that's going to heal your baby and heal your child comes from within, and specifically from your brain. When we were created, all of us, okay, there was one main organ that was put in your head and your baby and your child's head to actually control everything else in the body, and it's the brain. Now, another good question for you to think about is this. What is it that flows from the brain, from your brain, down through your spinal cord and down your baby's spinal cord and out the nerves to every cell, tissue, and organ in the body? What is it? That's a tricky question, I know, but the answer is power and information. It's power and information. It's the power that enables your body to have a heartbeat, and for the lungs to breathe, and for digestion to take place, so you can heal from cuts, fight infections, so you can boost your immune system to fight cancer and prevent cancer. For every single process in your baby's body to work properly, that power and information needs to flow from their brain down through the spinal cord and out the nerves. Now let me ask you another question. What percentage would you want your baby's power flowing at from 0 to 100? Obviously you want 100%, but if they're expressing symptoms, which by the way, we look at a symptom as a blessing. It's a signal telling you, stop doing what you're doing. Something is going on. Something's wrong. There needs to be a reason why the body's expressing symptoms. We don't look at symptoms as a bad thing. We look at it as a signal. It's actually a blessing that the person or the baby or your child has a symptom, because it's signaling you, telling you something's going on, especially if they can't speak, right? One thing that we know that can be causing symptoms is a blockage. Because let me ask you this, okay? What would happen if we cut the nerve completely to the heart? What would happen to that person? Obviously, they would die. Now, that's not philosophy. That's not theory. That's a fact. It's like this. It's like gravity every time, right? Well, what happens if we do this? We don't cut the nerve, but we scale back and we put a little pressure on the nerve. Now, instead of 100% flow, maybe you can see my We treat a lot of kids, so we have the little kid Band-Aid right there, right? So maybe you don't have 100% flow, but you have 90% flow, or your baby or your child has 90% flow or 80% flow. Is that good or bad for their health? It's not going to be good. You want your brain communicating with every cell, tissue, and organ at 100%. Because I'm a certified clinical nutritionist, a lot of people come in here for nutrition. And you know what they tell them? I tell them that the first thing, the most organic thing you can start with is getting your brain connected to every cell, tissue, and organ in your body. That's the most organic thing you can do, is to get that connection within you. Remove anything that's interfering with that connection. Now, this is the tricky part that most people don't know about. I know up until now, this makes sense. You might have seen this information from health class, or maybe you study and you're studied up on this stuff. Maybe you're in the health field. So this makes perfect sense, okay? Everybody follows this. Here, and by the way, anyway there's pressure on the nerve, will it be good? No. Here's what most people do not realize. They've never been taught this. Here's a cutout of the spine, okay? So we take this. The bones that protect the spinal cord and the nerves, okay? You got the discs, you got the bones, spinal cord, nerves. These bones, okay, can shift out of alignment like this. And I want you to take a look at that nerve. What's happening? I know you're saying it's being pinched, it's being crushed, choked, squeezed, pushed. That looks like it hurts, right? Most of the time, believe it or not, you can't feel this. That's the tricky part. That's the part that gets us all, because I grew up right here thinking, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But think of it like tooth decay or like a clogged artery. You know, have you ever heard of someone that had a clogged artery, they didn't know it, and then what happened? They dropped dead, right? So you can have things going on in the body that you don't necessarily feel right away. That's called a subluxation. I know it's a tongue tie, right? It's a tongue twister. So subluxation is when the bone shifts out of alignment. The two bones shift out of alignment, and it's putting pressure on the nerves. And it's blocking that intelligence and that power that's going to heal your baby and your child from flowing at 100%. What we do is, first of all, get a history and find out how this could have happened to your baby. Because you might be wondering, like, how would that happen? How would that happen to my baby, my child? How could that happen to me? The first place, believe it or not, according to Dr. Taubin, he's a Harvard-trained medical doctor. He did research and found that 93% of the time, when the child's being twisted and pulled out during the birth process, 93% of the time, this happens. The atlas, that first bone right there, that's your brainstem right there, shifts out of alignment, puts pressure on the brainstem in the newborn baby. 93% of the time. So another question is, when would have been the best time to have your baby's spine checked? At birth, right? It's never too late though. That's the beautiful thing. I'll ask adults this. I'll say, after you realize this, ask yourself, when would have been the best time to have my spine checked? Some of you haven't been checked since 5th grade, and I know, because unless you were like this, the nurse said next there was 100 kids lined up. Let's be honest, right? We never had this checked. So that's one way it can happen. What about flopping their head all over the place, or they don't have the strong muscles there, or learning how to walk? Or I'll tell you what the worst thing you can do is, and you might be doing this a lot, sitting. It's like sugar to your teeth. You know, when we grew up, when school was over, we came home, what did we do? We ran around all over the place. What are most of these kids doing? They're sitting. What are you doing? Tech neck, have you heard of that, right? Sitting with that forward head posture. That's terrible. Puts pressure on your brainstem, stretches the spinal cord. Then you throw in car accidents, slips and falls, playing sports. We're all under gravity. So when people say to me, how'd this happen? I tell them life, right? So physical, chemical, emotional stress. What about emotion? Do you ever get stressed emotionally? And what happens? Well, if your kid is colicky or has reflux and they're uncomfortable, that's going to emotionally stir them up. It's going to stir you up also, and what can happen to the muscles is it can get tight. So what we do is actually check for this. We have non-invasive, safe ways to check for subluxation. I use my hands. I use an infrared thermal scanner. We just check the skin temperature, especially on the brainstem area right there, to actually objectively check to see if your child has any blockages or what we call subluxation. And then what we do is we gently remove them. And then I don't heal the child. We have kids coming in here with colic, croup, constipation, reflux. They have everything, eczema. They have things that you would never think would come into a chiropractic office, and I check them and then gently adjust them, take the pressure off so that their brain, where all the health and healing comes from, and every single one of us, including your baby and your child, so it can come from the brain down through the spinal cord and out the nerves. And life flow, which is what we're talking about today, that's 50% of the equation. If you want to know, how do I get my kid well? 50% of the equation, which I guarantee 99% of the people have not had their child checked for this or their baby checked for this, is life flow. The other 50% is lifestyle. So we look at things from a holistic perspective. Of course, we have to look at the big picture, but what I'm trying to explain to you today is that something you should consider getting checked is subluxation. You always need to ask yourself, what's causing a symptom, what's causing the problem, and it's always going to be a toxicity and or deficiency in the body. It's going to be a toxicity and or a deficiency in the body. Okay, and that's something that's really key. So this is what I would suggest that you do. I would suggest that you call our office. If you like this information, you can actually subscribe to be part of our newsletter list. Get more information. If you want to do a consultation on the phone, I'd love to do that also. But what I would do is actually have your baby checked. Let me give another opinion. Let me give a second opinion. Especially a lot of parents who bring their babies and their kids to us, they've been to 5 different doctors, and then we're like the 6th one or the 10th one. Let me give you another opinion. Let me check your child's spine and nervous system to see if that's functioning. All right? Because I guarantee that it can improve the quality of their life. All right? I look forward to speaking to you soon. Have a great day.